We're in our week 4 of the Design for Relationship series entitled Fish for Men. As a warm up, we have 3 items here. Bullet 1 says, what do you think makes a person ordinary? Give 2 to 3 examples from daily life. Bullet 2 says, would you say you follow instructions well? Recall an instance explaining this. And number 3, bullet 3, tell us about your greatest accomplishment as a team in the last 12 months. How did you get it done and how did it feel after? Uh, for our word today, we will read Luke 10, verses 1 to 2. We will also, in passing, read Luke 10, 3 to 21. So, verse 1 says, after this, the Lord appointed 72 others and sent them on ahead of him, 2 by 2, into every town and place where he himself was about to go. And he said to them, the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. Therefore, pray earnestly to the Lord of the harvest to send out laborers into his harvest. May the Lord bless his word as we discuss this 2 items. Following Jesus is not easy because it takes everything we have, because we don't follow him alone, and because it should not stop with us. Jesus sent his disciples to proclaim the good news of the kingdom to anyone willing to listen. The world was never the same because of this. And today, the task remains to be fulfilled by the church. While we are called to love our church community or people of the same faith, we also we are also designed to build relationship with those who have yet to encounter Jesus. Today we will look at who God calls, what he calls us to do, what he calls us to, and what he promises as we follow him and fish for men. So we have 2 items. Number 1, God calls ordinary people. Luke 10, verse 1 says, after this, the Lord appointed 72 others and sent them on ahead of him, 2 by 2, into every town and place where he himself was about to go. So, aside from the 12 disciples, there were 72 others that Jesus sent out. And these were all ordinary people. There were no priests, there were no officials, there were ordinary people, just like us. They did not have great credentials or religious superiority. In fact, the 72 remained unnamed in the Bible. Yet, still Jesus called them to preach, heal the sick, and cast out demons. This is a relief. Knowing this is really a relief. We don't need to be extraordinary to follow God. I repeat, we don't need to be extraordinary to follow God. We ordinary people are called to pray for others, and preach the gospel, and serve God in the community. How do you think the 72 felt as they went to different places 2 by 2? In those early days, you could tell that they were all eager to follow Jesus. They went to every town, to every place that Jesus would go, as they prepared for the time Jesus was about to go to their city, town, and place. Now, how did they feel? Were they scared? Were they anxious? Were they questioning? I think they they felt like what we feel today, as God is sending us in our places, in our workplaces, in our community, as we share uh, the gospel of Jesus to others. Number two, uh, God calls ordinary people to an extraordinary task. In Luke uh, chapter 10, in verse 2, and he said to them, the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. Therefore, pray earnestly to to the Lord of the harvest to send laborers into this harvest. Verse 3, go your way. Behold, I am sending you as a lambs in the midst of wolves. And we jump to verse 8. Whenever you enter a town and they receive you, eat what is set before you. And verse 9 says, heal the sick in it and say to them, the kingdom of God has come near to you. Jesus sent those ordinary, unnamed followers to proclaim his kingdom to those in different towns and cities. They faced some who did not receive them, but they also experienced many people coming to God. They proclaimed the gospel of the kingdom of God and confirmed their message by meeting the needs of people with the miracles from God. In Mark uh, 16, verses 15 to 18, why do you think Jesus promised that ordinary task of proclaiming uh, the gospel would be accompanied by miraculous signs? Let's read from Mark chapter 16, uh, from verse 15 to 18. It says, he said to them, go into all the world and preach the gospel to all creation. Whoever believes and is baptized will be saved, but whoever does not believe will be condemned. And these signs will accompany those who believe. In my name, they will drive out demons, they will speak in new tongues, they will pick up snakes and with their hands, and when they drink deadly poison, it will not hurt them at all. They will place their hands on sick people and they will get well. So, signs and wonders. Why do you think Jesus promised uh, this extraordinary task of proclaiming the gospel will be accompanied by miraculous signs and wonders? Personally, I think it's for the people's benefit to make them believe. During that time, the Jews has this to cease to believe attitude. Today, we Christians of the present time, we people still do need signs and wonders. Some people will say the time for signs and wonders is over, but God said, God promised that whenever He is preached, whenever His gospel is preached, it is it will be accompanied by miraculous signs. In the same way, the disciples were called to declare and demonstrate the gospel of His kingdom. God invited us to participate in this extraordinary task. As we do so, many more people would turn to God and thus bring joy to Him. We can give thanks to God, knowing that preaching His word will lead us to our ultimate joy. Luke 10, verse 20 said, our names are written in heaven. Yes, that is our new citizenship in God's kingdom. You only have to believe. Faith, the faith in God, faith coming from God is all we need. So, as application, we have three bullets. How do you react to the idea of telling people about Jesus? What makes you do it anyway? Number two, why do you think Jesus sent his disciple out two by two with those instructions? What do you think his instructions would be to your victory group today? And bullet three, this week as we study, work, and go about our daily lives, pray that God would lead us to people he intends us to be a blessing to, so that we may be open to hear the gospel and come to the saving knowledge of Christ. Some prayer. Thank God for calling you as little children, and for making a way for your names to be written in heaven. Thank God for making you ordinary, and yet for calling you to an extraordinary task. Ask Him for strength, wisdom, and boldness to preach the gospel. And lastly, pray for your family members and friends to know Christ. Ask God to soften their hearts and draw them closer to Him. So that's it for this week. I pray that God is speaking to your heart. Like the video, subscribe to my channel, and God bless you all.